Dr. Stephen Strange casts a forbidden spell that opens up a portal to the multiverse. However, a threat emerges that may be too big for his team to handle. That is the summary I got for Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness, which I don't feel like it really fits, but
Did he
that's what
have
the
a
internet
team?
gave me. And that's what I mean, Wong and those other people that things happen to. It was probably his team in America. She was there. She contributed. All right, Jason, as we like to do it every time, we're going to do our one sentence review of Doctor Strange 2, The Multiverse of Madness.
My one sentence review is not as many multiverses as I wanted, but the multiverses that I needed.
Oh, I like that one. Mine is going to be Wanda needs a doctor because this is a strange way to handle her PTSD in the universe.
Oh, we're
Yes.
gonna do no
Okay. Yeah.
spoilers.
It is no stories. Yeah, we're doing
No
no
spoilers
spoilers.
for right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. No
Ah, crap!
spoilers.
This
I
is kind of
figured.
going to be kind of hard to review then with those spoilers.
Look, I figured after the cast we can review our spoiler one when we don't go live, so that way we have one in the
Okay.
tuck. But yeah, we're gonna do the no spoiler
Oh,
one. But then I'll start off since you already had spoilers in yours that you can kind of weed out. So I'm just gonna start off and jump right into it, feet first, because I texted. This is probably my favorite Marvel Studios movie, and if anybody watches our show long enough, you know exactly why. Because this is Marvel's a legitimate attempt at a horror movie in a comic book movie, and I loved every freaking moment of it. Now, as I say this, it is a lot of issues with this movie. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those moments where, like, if anybody watches our Halloween Kills thing, and I started justifying Halloween Kills, and as a horror fan, we kind of turn blind eyes to a lot of crazy plot holish stuff. I'm going to get that same energy to this review too. Yes, is the pacing off? 100%. Is the dialogue almost damn right cringy? 100%. Is there things sometimes that just don't even make any sense, but it's just done because, like, it's pretty cool? 1,000%. So if you watch the movie and you go, man, Jason was tripping, I'm letting you know right now, the movie has a ton of flaws in it. If you were to rank it on just a pure movie, it's probably not even in the top 10 of Marvel Studio movies. But for me, because of how I dig on horror and I love Sam Raimi, this movie is awesome. So going into it a little bit, I mean, also one of the biggest issues that I think I kind of had at the beginning is the characterizations are off a bit by people. Like, I don't know if you felt that too. Like, I feel like Doctor Strange didn't act Doctor Strange-esque, but I think there's reasons for that. But they never really played into it enough that I felt like people grasped that. Like, anyway, but going into it, look, man, Sam Raimi is a horror god. And I know people think about Spider-Man 3 and they go, oh, but Spider-Man, I get it. It was a lot of influence in that. I even go as far to say that Taika Waititi, James Gunn, Guillermo del Toro, and Sam Raimi should be the only guys allowed to make superhero movies at this point in my life. I feel
That's
like that
probably
should
a
be
good
just set
idea.
in stone,
I don't know.
and no one else should touch them.
You could probably hit John Favreau on that one, just on a lower scale of that. But
True. Okay. Yes. True. But for them four right there, we could do that. And so going into this movie, the horror elements and horror influences of Sam Raimi is very more than even Spider-Man 1 and 2 that he did. You can feel that they were like, hey, we want to make this very scary. And I'm telling, like, if it's little kids you want to take to this, don't take little kids to this. Because it is some moments in here that are like freaky, scary, and jump scary. I like the way in this movie that they were able to blend the seriousness of Doctor Strange with this kind of almost cheesy goofiness of Sam Raimi. I thought that was an interesting feel. I will admit, because of the pacing, you can tell the moments where they're like, hey, Marvel needs these explanation dumps here because we need other stuff to happen after this movie. And here's where Sam Raimi was like, hey, you could do whatever you want with this scene. You can feel that in the movie. You could do whatever you want with this scenes are so good that it didn't really bother me that sometimes I felt like they were just dumping exposition at us to be like, oh yeah, to push the movie along. If you can get over that herk and jerky feel and actually just kind of vibe with the moments that are awesome, you'll thoroughly enjoy this movie. I will say that the CGI here I thought was lacking for a Marvel movie. The part of me feels like it might have been done on purpose because I think they were kind of giving more of a campy, cheesy feel. Because it is some moments in here that The CGI doesn't look good. There's even one part near the end where Doctor Strange looks a bit different, and it just looks bad. And I felt like it could have used a little CGI touch up. It just did look bad. But even with all that being said, it's just a fun movie, man. And I know Marvel really always makes fun movies, but I feel like outside of James, maybe Taika Waititi, even James Gunn, but outside of like those two directors, this is the first time I felt like a director's style meshed very well with the product they were trying to make. I feel like out of all the movies in Marvel Studios, this felt like the most comic booky.
Mm-hmm.
Like it felt legitimately like you could flip the pages of a comic book and feel like this movie would fit in and it would not miss a beat. Which is a pull from Marvel, because that's one of the things you would say about Marvel is that their movies never felt comic booky. They always felt grounded, but still was a comic book, but it felt grounded. It's kind of what DC try to do every time and just fails miserably. Either DC goes too serious and real, or they try to go too campy and it's off the radar. Like this was the first. I felt like Marvel's always done a great blend of that. Well, this movie right here, I feel like this is the first time that it felt comic booky to the point that anything can happen. And then the last real critique I have is whenever you're messing with multiverses, and again, guys, we're doing spoiler free here, no spoilers.
No
You mess with
spoilers.
multiverses. Sometimes you have a habit of consequences not mattering. That plays heavily in this movie. Like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things happen that don't really matter. It is just like I said, it's just cool to see, but doesn't mean anything in the overall entity of how the Marvel universe is going to move forward. So, but I'm here for it, man. Give Sam Raimi another shot, man. Give him the New Mutants, or give him Blade. Hell, I would love to get Blade.
Yeah, that would
Like,
be great if you did Blade.
yeah, send them on there. But I'm here for it. Jason, what are your thoughts on the Multiverse of Madness?
All right, so let me start off by saying that I was highly entertained by this movie. I did, in fact, enjoy it. Um, especially the whole especially Doctor Strange's journey. You get to see that our Marvel Cinematic Universe Doctor Strange is probably the best set of Doctor Strange there is, because all the other Doctor Stranges are assholes. And he's still an asshole too, but he's the good asshole that you want. So I
Right,
definitely like how each universe that we did see informed to still the same character that we're watching, rather than just be some sort of one off or something like that. So my major complaints to this, and it's kind of really not complaint, well, it's kind of a gripe, but it doesn't really take away from how good this movie is and I'm trying not to go into spoilers. I feel like there is definitely a character in here who's at a place that doesn't seem congruous to the point where they were when we saw them last.
hmm
And some people might disagree, like, oh, I thought that character was going to go down this road. I did not see it. Uh, this seems like they should have done a better job explaining why this character has taken such extreme route that they're doing. And I will not tell you who that character is.
right.
So
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
keep my mouth shut on that. And also, as you said, this movie, it's kind of a bottle episode, really. And for Jason, I know Jason doesn't like the fact that in Marvel movies they're kind of always setting up a different movie later down the round, rather than just giving you a single movie, right? And
Right.
this is definitely right here. This is the movie that honestly has no other connections beyond the story. I mean, there are some little bits and pieces there, but it's not like it's making a major change to the MCU like some other movies earlier in the line did. Um, and for me, like, after watching it, I kind of didn't like that, even though I say a lot on the show. Why can't we just have simple superhero movies where they just do shit and have fun? We don't always have to be setting up. But I guess when you're watching a Marvel movie, you kind of expect it to set up the next thing down the line, and this one it don't. And I guess that, to me, especially since this whole multiverse of madness has been teased for a couple of years now, it's kind of like the new hotness. It's like the zombies genre from years
hmm
back. Uh, it feels like this should have played a bigger role than it did, and that's not the movie's fault. It's just like my perception of the way that the MCU should be ran, right? So, um, The horror aspects to it, awesome. So awesome. So great. There was times I did get a jump scare. Jason is right. Don't bring your young kids to this. Bring your teenage kids to this. This is a PG-13 movie, and it's probably a hard PG-13. You know,
Yo,
so
100%. I'm surprised I got a PG-13 rating because, well, I guess because they didn't have blood. Because there's
yeah,
some scenes in there that are just like,
there are some very grisly murders in this.
yes,
And Sam Raimi does not shy away from and they may be bloodless, but they are definitely there. um
yeah,
so I don't want to ruin like the cameos. I liked the fact that they did those cameos, but ultimately, I mean, they still play into the story itself of the movie, which is great. But for me, they don't go anywhere with the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that was kind of sort of disappointing. That in this one, they could have probably done some more to integrate this into the rest of into the world, and maybe introduce some characters into our mainline MCU
hmm
that is not there yet, but ultimately it does not. But that still doesn't really take away from how fun and enjoyable this movie is. So even though I'm sounding like this movie is terrible, it is not. It is it's good. I mean, oh, my last gripe is um poor America Chavez. She probably gets a short stick in the stick of this. She is basically the Cassandra Cain of the Birds of Prey movie, where she could have basically been replaced by, I don't know, a, something inanimate. It still would have affected the story the same way. Like, and I don't, she's one of the newer characters that I'm not really familiar with, but what my impression is of her, from what I've seen, this character looks like her,
right.
but
She
doesn't
does.
really give off the same vibe from what I've seen. And as I said, I'm not an expert in the character, so those who are comic book readers may say this is an accurate portrayal. I do not think that is the case, but even then, she's fine. It's fine.
That might be the best comment ever. They did her like Naruto did Tensei. Yes, yes. And no, sad. My daughter's watching Naruto now, and she loves Tensei. And I can look at her and go, "It's going to have a long journey, sweetheart. You're going to have a long journey." Yeah, yeah. She's just she. Well, and see,
She's a MacGuffin. She's a MacGuffin.
and I feel that way, and I don't disagree with her MacGuffinness. And since I don't want to go into spoilers on this, but I do feel like, well, one, it was known that she was supposed to show up initially in No Way Home
It's in No Way Home.
in
Yeah.
Spider-Man, and I think because that didn't happen, they had to shuffle the deck a little bit to make it work here. But in making it work here, I think because they know this movie was so already bloated, because and it's only because our friend Alex said it best. He referred to this movie being similar to Thor 2 about setting up future things. I said I think it's similar to Avengers 2. Well, Avengers 2 was basically like, how can we get to the far out stuff, but we need to get an installment in to like connect that bridge. And I felt this movie is like Avengers 2. Like, it's so bloated with so much stuff going on because you're trying to wrap up some other stuff, but also get some new threads. But then also all the other stuff that we watch from Loki and all that stuff have to get that to have some influence in what this. It's just a lot going on in this movie. So at the end of the day, if you have one character that you're like, we need to get her in here because she may have future help, but we don't have time to really do anything with her. She kind of got the short end of the stick for proverbial on that one. I thought the actress that played her, I thought she did really well. She wasn't
She
given
did
much
good.
to
Yeah.
do, but she played what she had to play very, very well. And I thought that was fascinating because, again, if you want to phone in a performance, this is the moment you can phone it in. So,
Yeah.
all you got to do is stand there. And the only thing I did hate about her is that she did the whole gaping look thing a lot. Like,
Yeah. Like
when everything's going on, and you've traveled through
chick, you
multiverses,
travel
nothing
through
should
multiverse.
surprise you. Yeah, like nothing should surprise you. You should
You should
just
be
take
the
all the
one.
stuff like running the mill.
You should be the one calm through most of this. Like, that's crazy. It's like, no, it's not. I seen it last week. What are you talking about?
Right? You should be
Handle
so
it.
jaded at this point. Right, right, right.
Also,
Um,
shout out to Wong. He puts in the work on this one.
Benedict, yeah, Benedict, yeah. He does his thing on this one. I mean, again, all the heavy hitters. I mean, let's not even. I mean, we can go on for days about Elizabeth Olsen in this movie. Like,
Yeah,
she's a powerhouse in this movie, not just like powers. I'm talking about acting wise. Like, she's
yes.
on a whole nother level in this movie. Like, it is
In
ridiculous how
fact,
she
probably
puts
the
on in
most
this movie.
non interesting character is Doctor Strange himself. Even
Right.
though he still has a good journey, it's still good. It's just like he's just kind of like reacting to all the shit that's going on.
Absolutely. So let's go jump into the main event. If you were to give Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness, a number from 5 being great to 1 being straight trash, what would you give Doctor Strange 2?
I would give it a 3.9. It's close. It's close to a
Hmm.
4. It's so close. And if it was like a little bit more connective tissue there, it would have been either a solid 4 or even up to like 4.5. But it's just like
Yes, I'm right. I gave it a 4. I'm right there with you, man. Like, I enjoyed it a lot. And like I said, I'm just give everybody pre-warning on this one. If you haven't watched all the Marvel stuff up to now, you're going to be lost. If you're expecting a regular Marvel movie, you're not going to like it. If you don't like horror films, you're not going to like it. So I'm just letting everybody know this now. If you go
just put
into
this
it
out
and you're
front.
any of those people, I do not want you coming and blowing me up and at me about how we trash reviewers and I gave this a 4 and you couldn't even finish this movie. If you are not, if you are one of those 3 parties, haven't seen everything leading up to here, you don't like Marvel, you don't like horror films, or you expect typical Marvel formula flair, this ain't the movie for you.
I mean, and that's kind of like the critique of the first Doctor Strange movie too. It's not like a traditional Marvel movie, and that's what's so great about Doctor Strange is that it doesn't really lend itself to that same sort of formula. Like in the last Doctor Strange, like he beat the bad guy by having a conversation with him.
Yes. Ramondu, I'll come
like
with the
like
deal.
like stop this. This is terrible.
Oh man, we're gonna have. Hey, you're a Star Trek fan. That's how they solve all their issues in Star Trek.
I know, which is so great about Star Trek, but no, he's so boring. I'm sorry that, having like a human decency and, trying to resolve your conflict without using violence is boring. Fuck all y'all. This is why this world sucks today.
Oh man. Oh, she said when you say it's seen everything, can I get by without watching Thor's and Ant-Man's? Yeah, you're perfectly fine with
Yes.
that. You can skip that.
Yes.
I bet like the
If
Loki,
you
the
watch,
WandaVision.
yeah,
Yeah,
Loki, if you watch the TV shows, you'll be fine.
yeah. Especially Loki, WandaVision, What If. I feel like the ones you
Yeah,
have
what
to,
those three are
and No Way
definitely
Home,
must.
Spider-Man No Way Home are the ones you all probably have to see to fully get this one. All right. Um, yeah, we're probably gonna do a spoiler conversation after we get off the live, and so we can actually get all our grievances out and
Get,
post
get
that a
some
lot
stuff off my
later.
chest.
Right, right. Plus, I know everybody's gonna have issues with me ranking it so high when I crap on a lot of movies that are similar to this with all the bad
Yeah.
things.
He liked Halloween ends everybody, or Halloween kills everybody. I'm just saying that movie was
Yeah,
terrible.
no
He liked
credibility
Texas
out the
Chainsaw
window.
Massacre. I mean, that shit was
Again,
bad as hell.
I've been doing my credibilities out the window, so I'm not surprised at all. But yes, guys, everybody, thank you again for watching. Please go out if you can, grab Black Sands, The Seven Kingdoms, Volume 1, Volume 2. Again, we're going to do our Nerd, N-Word for Nerd Book Club, May 21st, guys. Lock it in, 8 o'clock. We're going to go live, and we're going to be talking about these Volume 1 and Volume 2. Once again, our book club is going to highlight Black and people of color, sci-fi fantasy books. Jason has a suggestion for the next one, and I can't wait to read that.